Have you ever wanted something so badly that even breathing began to feel like labor? Have you ever pushed harder, worked longer, tightened your grip, only to watch the very thing you wanted slip farther away? That is the curse of chasing. The world teaches us to pursue, to force, to conquer, to close our fist around life before it disappears. But some things do not come closer when you chase them. They flee. Peace flees. Love flees. Clarity flees. Even success sometimes flees, because desperation has a scent, and life can smell it. Today's story is about a fisherman named Elie, a man who believed the sea was something to overpower, until one night he learned that the strongest move is not always to grip harder. Sometimes the strongest move is to let go. Stay with this story, because before it ends, you may finally understand why an open hand can receive what a clenched fist can never keep. Elie was not lazy. That was never his problem. He was the first to leave the shore, the last to return. He rowed farther than the others, stayed out longer, bought stronger nets, risked darker water. And still, he came home with almost nothing, while other fishermen returned with full boats and quiet gratitude. Elie returned with torn palms, salt-burned eyes, and humiliation boiling under his ribs. He began to hate the sea. He did not say it that way, of course. He called it discipline. He called it hunger. He called it grit. But beneath those noble words, there was something uglier: panic. Elie was not casting nets. He was hurling his fear at the water. He wasn't fishing. He was assaulting the water. Every throw was an accusation. Every pull was a demand. Every mile farther out was a threat thrown at the horizon. He wanted the sea to surrender, to produce, to obey. His effort was not trust. It was violence wearing the mask of ambition. That was the trap. He thought force was proof of seriousness. But force born from lack only deepens lack. He was not moving with the rhythm of the tide. He was trying to mug the ocean for what it had not yet chosen to give. And the harder he chased abundance, the more abundance seemed to retreat. Then one night the sea turned strange. Not violent, worse, still, wide, unanswered. Elie had rowed too far. His shoulders burned. His hands were torn. His throat was raw from cursing wind that no longer answered. He looked around and saw only black water and a sky full of indifferent stars. For the first time in years, he had nothing left to attack the sea with. So he did the one thing he had never allowed himself to do. He simply let go of the oars. The sound of the wood hitting the boat was the loudest thing he had ever heard. It was not the sound of quitting. It was the sound of a war ending. He lay back in the boat and stared upward like a man too emptied out to keep pretending he was in command. The boat drifted. The water breathed. The night widened. And then something changed. Not in the sea, in him. His jaw unclenched. His ribs softened. The violence inside him began to fall silent, and as the noise within him died down, life around him came nearer. Small fish gathered beneath the hull. The current caught the boat with a gentleness he had never earned by force. For the first time in his life, Elie was not trying to take something from the sea. He was allowing the sea to meet him. That was the beginning, not of success, of surrender. And surrender made room for grace. Years later, when younger fishermen asked Elie how everything changed, he did not begin with nets or charts or clever tricks. He bent down and picked up a handful of dry sand. Then he clenched his fist around it as hard as he could. At once the grains began to escape, faster, faster, faster. The tighter he held, the more he lost. Then he opened his hand. What remained rested quietly in his palm. That, he said, is your life. That is peace. That is love. That is success. The more you grip out of fear, the faster it leaves you. Because a clenched fist is the shape of doubt. An open hand is the shape of trust. The young men stood silent. Elie let the sand fall slowly back to the shore. Then he said what the sea had taught him on that dark night. There are gifts that do not respond to force. There are doors that open only when you stop pounding. There are tides that carry you farther when you stop trying to bully them. That is the lesson. Letting go is not giving up. It is not surrender to failure. It is surrender to reality. It is the courage to stop strangling what you claim to love. Look closely at the world. A flower does not chase the bee. The moon does not chase the tide. The dawn does not run after the horizon. They become fully themselves. And in doing so, they draw life toward them. That is the law most anxious people never learn. What belongs to you does not always arrive through force. Sometimes it arrives through alignment, through quiet, through trust, through becoming the kind of person who can receive what he once tried to seize. So if your dream still feels like it is running from you, maybe the problem is not weakness. Maybe you are gripping it too hard. Maybe you have mistaken control for devotion. Maybe you have rode so violently that you have scared away the very thing trying to come near. Take one breath, then another. Unclench your hands. Unclench your jaw. Unclench the future. Because letting go takes more courage than holding on. Anyone can grip out of fear. Anyone can chase out of panic. But to release what you cannot control, to stop forcing to trust the tide without proof, that is strength. Letting go is the strongest move. You do not have to stop caring. You only have to stop trying to strangle what you love into appearing. Because the sea does not reward the loudest hunter. It often reveals itself to the one who has finally become still enough to receive. So tell me this, what are you still chasing with fear? And what might happen if you trusted the tide a little more? If this story found you at the exact moment you needed it, write this below. I trust my rhythm. Not as decoration, as a release, as the first breath of a life that no longer runs after everything, but begins to receive what has been trying to find it all along.